Sorry about that, Matt. It's a bit of a change. But I'm going to talk to you guys about how I use data to take care of my mental fitness, and also how I ended up here on this stage with you. I am just going to look. Is it the clicker? Thank you very much. So I basically am going to talk to you about mental fitness. I only really talk about mental fitness. I don't use the words mental health or mental well-being because I'm not sure exactly what they mean sometimes. And I don't know, I just find I associate better with mental fitness. My definition of mental fitness for you all is very complicated and scientific. It's the same as physical fitness, but it's for your brain. And that's how I talk about it. So I have a few little rules that I use, which is every single person in this room has mental fitness, so we all have it. It goes up and down. At some point in anyone's life in here, your mental fitness will go up and down. And it's impacted by lifestyle, life experiences, and world events. How has that gone a bit funny, hasn't it? Anyway, we'll move on quickly. Does everyone get what I mean by mental fitness then? Clear? Yeah, nice and simple. Good, nailed it. So my story starts about 2.5 years ago. I was working at Channel 5. I was making a TV show as production manager, really enjoying my life, and I was also starting to become a stand-up comedian. So I was doing stand-up sets in the evening after work. I was having a good time. I was lucky because I was a really good, mediocre beginner stand-up. So I had quite a nice journey through that process. I obviously decided that bangs were a good idea for me at that time as well. And I was having a great time. I took 10 days off work, and I took myself to Edinburgh, and I did a 20-minute set in Edinburgh for a week run. It was great fun. Has anyone here been to Edinburgh? Yeah. Has anyone here done stand-up at Edinburgh? No. Okay. It's not restful. It's not a restful process. It's really good fun, but it's not restful. I did my set, went really well. I had scouts come and see me. It was exciting. I kind of felt really confident in myself. I was like, oh, God, good job, and I'm doing this on the side. And I went back to work, and after the first couple of weeks, I just started to feel, I started to feel bad. I started to feel tired all the time. I couldn't really be bothered to do anything. I literally was at the point where I was getting into work and I was counting down the clock till I could leave so that I could be in bed by 7:30. And that's very, very different to who I was before then. And there wasn't any big trigger or any really big thing that I could associate that with. And my friends, very good friends of mine, suggested that I went to see a doctor because my behaviour had changed and I stopped doing my stand-up and all of that kind of stuff. And so I did. I went to a doctor and they diagnosed me with depression. So here's a bit, I get told off by the slide police about how many words I put on the slides, but that's just a couple of things that, there are a couple of the symptoms is the word I'm looking for depression. Mine, obviously, the biggest one for me was people noticing that I didn't really care about anything anymore. I had change in my behaviour. I was given medication, so I was given an antidepressant, which is an SSRI. I don't know how much you guys know about meds here. An SSRI is basically stops the reabsorption of serotonin in your brain, so it means there's more serotonin available in your brain. Serotonin is the happiest hormone, so that's what it does. The side effects that I had at work, I literally left the doctors, got my medication, took my medication on the way to work, and sat in work that day, and I was like, oh my God. I couldn't focus, I didn't know what was going on. I kind of pushed through and thought, oh, I'll get used to it. But actually, I was only able to do the base level of my job, and that was only because I'd done it so much, I knew what to do. And I was one of the 10,000, 100,000 people, I can't remember what the stat is, that had a very special side effect, which was an involuntary yawn. So I don't know if anyone here has ever tried to hide a yawn before. These guys, some people are trying to hide it, and others are just like, there's no point. There literally is no point. The reason why it's these people is because they were the first ones that came up on Google when I said celebrities yawning. So I was trying to hide a yawn every 2 minutes. And I was literally, my face was going through that, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't have this at work. I can't work. I couldn't talk to people, I couldn't hold meetings, I couldn't do anything. So I decided just to chuck my pills in the bin. as you do, casually, didn't really think about it. And I felt better immediately. But then 6 weeks later, I had what doctors call a severe depressive episode. I spent 5 weeks under 24-hour watch as a high-risk suicide patient. I had pretty much every symptom you can think of. I was anorexic, I was agoraphobic, I was suicidal, I didn't want to go outside. There's a couple up there. And you know, it was bad. It's not good. It was really bad. And I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. There's a definition of bipolar disorder, but basically, in essence, it means that my brain can't control the chemicals and hormones in it properly, and the output of that is I have an ability to experience mania or alleviated moods and depression, so depressive moods. I was put on a different course of medication, which was great, and it's called lamotrigine. It's exactly the same medication as somebody with epilepsy takes. So imagine somebody's brain with epilepsy, their brain's inability to control chemicals and hormones, etc., the output of that is a seizure. And so we're the same. We're the same, we just have a different problem, we use the same medication. No one would ever ask anyone with epilepsy whether they're ever going to stop taking the medication. You just wouldn't, but you'd be surprised how many people ask me if I'm ever going to stop taking mine. Like, no. It's not good. So as I was recovering, I started to feel better, and I got to the point where I realised what had happened around me, and I realised the impact of what happened to me. It didn't just happen to me, it happened to everyone around me. It happened to my friends, it happened to my family, it happened to my work colleagues. Literally one day, I just didn't go back to work. And I was running a TV show. Now, all of those people were impacted by that. And I knew that I wasn't well enough to work, so instead of trying to get back to work too soon, I decided to take my recovery on like a job. And I started to track everything I was doing so I could understand what was going on. Because what my brain was telling me, I couldn't trust. And it was actually wrong. So I built myself a tracking system. And I used the data that I was collecting in my tracking system to make decisions so I could get better. The tracking system came about because doctors and therapists and friends were saying, oh, you should keep a mood diary, you should keep a food diary, you should keep an alcohol diary. And I was like, man, I don't know how to work out what all of that even means. So I built this, which looks quite complicated, but it's actually really simple. And it takes 60 seconds to fill in, and it's a whole month's worth of focusing on all the things that impact my mental fitness. This is it filled in. You can see there's like the mood at the top, which is just ticks, but it basically looks like trinary code. I don't know. I think Matt said that to me, which made it sound cool, trinary code. Ones and threes and lots of numbers. But I learned how to read this, and I made decisions in my life based on what the data was telling me, not based on how I was feeling. And if you can imagine now, I've been doing this for 2.5 years. I know myself really, really well. I know my mind really, really well. And I manage my bipolar through tracking and medication. And little things like, I know, for example, that if I go down into a depressive phase for 2 days on my score, I can drink half a cup of caffeinated coffee and it will pop me back up. But I also know that if I'm feeling really good and I'm in my mid-band, if I drink a whole cup of caffeinated coffee, 2 days later I'll become manic. And that's just coffee. And that's just me. But everybody, I believe everybody should be paying attention to their lives and their behaviours in this way so that you can manage yourself, so you can maintain mental fitness and you can actually ebb and flow and adapt to what's going on in your life. I got to the point where I was ready to get back to work, and I was like, how do I go back to work? Who's going to hire me? What do I say? Do I say, oh God, you know, yeah, I just, 4 months off work, I was travelling in India. Like, what? Didn't have a tan. But what are you going to say when, oh, I was 4 months of my life I haven't been working. Oh yeah, because I had a depressive episode, I wanted to kill myself, I didn't brush my teeth for 3 weeks. Think about that. It's actually hard work. It was horrible. What do you say to people? So I was afraid, and I told my friends I was afraid, and luckily a friend of mine who actually used to do stand-up with me, very weird connection, said, come and work for me as a PA. And so I did. I went to work with her as a PA, and she gave me a chance. And she basically allowed me to be shit for about, I think, 3 weeks. I was the shittest PA in the whole world. Like, oh man, I don't know how she did it. She was so good that she never showed me that she was irritated at all, ever. And she just kept laughing and saying, don't worry, do it again, it's fine. And when I'm saying that, I'm talking about meeting requests. I sent out 5 meeting requests for one meeting once. 5! And she's big client, so it wasn't to little fish, it was like, but she did say to me, she goes, listen, my clients aren't going to fire me because I've got a shit PA. Which is true, and her whole team followed suit, and they all laughed along with me, they all included me, they all asked me for my opinion, and you know, I wasn't treated any differently, quite frankly, apart from instead of someone saying, you're shit, you're fired, oh, you okay there? That's all right, you're shit, you're fired, they were like, yeah, you're being shit, but you'll be fine next week if you try this, which I believe is kind of how everyone should be anyway. So I got back to work. I got better very quickly, and I was back in a competitive role within, I think it was about 10, 12 weeks, which was exciting. Managing myself, measuring everything, tracking, life was good again, and I kept meeting people like myself. I was meeting other people who were about to lose their jobs, had lost their jobs, were trying to get back into work, didn't know how to take care of their brains, freaking out because they're lost in what I could only call a low mental fitness state. And I kept hearing myself say, oh, I wish you had a tracking system. Build yourself a tracking system. I built one. Build yourself one and track yourself. Or I wish you had a friend like mine that could just give you a job and let you be shit for a couple of weeks. And I realised I was saying I wish a lot, and saying I wish does absolutely nothing. So instead of doing nothing, I decided to set up a social enterprise, which I called the 888 Collective. Not easy to say, I'm not good at naming companies. But it's a social enterprise completely focused on helping people with mental health issues get back into work. And I originally wanted to open up a cafe and a shop, because who doesn't when you want to help people? But I looked into the finances of it, where's Gethin? And awful. Black hole for money, opening up a cafe, I thought. So instead of doing that, I went and bought myself a second-hand panini machine from the basement of a pub. I got myself 2 free shed spaces in East London, and I started selling tea and toasties out of those sheds, and I hired anyone that had a mental health issue that came to me, wanted a job, and I paid them for their time, and we sold tea and toasties. This is all by gang. This was actually at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was just in the winter, so we look like we're squatting or taking over somewhere that we shouldn't be, but we had these little sheds. The tea and toasty selling went really well, but it was freezing in the sheds. So I knocked on the local WeWork door, and I asked if we could sell to their clients. So they let me go in and sell to their clients, and then they let me to go and sell into all the other WeWorks around London. And the people I was working with started to leave me to get real jobs. And I was like, okay, this is working. They were using my tracking system. And I wanted to help more people, so I developed what I was teaching and training people into a course, which was a personal development and mental health management course, and I started teaching that course. But we were really lucky, because our brand kind of spread around a bit. This is a picture, on the top picture, of some artwork that was sent to us from New Zealand. There's 2 people wearing our t-shirt in Greece, and I don't know how we ended up getting a monkey holding our slogan, which is "We're all somebody's version of crazy," happening, but that did happen. So everything spread quite quickly, and the reason I think it happened was because we looked like an East London fashion brand. We did not look like anything you would associate with mental well-being or mental health. People were asking me, how are you getting people on your course? How are you getting people to come to your course? People were just coming to my course. People were just phoning up and saying, I want to come, I've got mental health issues, I'm out of work, can I come? I never asked anybody for ID. I never asked anybody to prove that they were on benefits. I never asked anybody which borough they were in. I just said, if you turn up to my class and you want to learn, awesome. That was it. So this was our course. That was a nice picture of when we were in WeWork. WeWork let us use their spaces, and also the Busworks. Here, they let us use their spaces for free, which was awesome. Because everything I did was free. Not a great business model, Gethin, again. But lots of people were helped, and at the end of the courses, what we did was well, actually what I did was I went and knocked on all the really cool local restaurants, and I basically convinced the chefs to let us pre-sell tickets into a restaurant and fully staff that restaurant with my grads for one night. So everyone that came to work for me, came on the course with me, at the end of the 4 weeks, they would get their first paid shift back in work. And it was hilarious. It was chaotic, but it was hilarious, and everyone really enjoyed it. And it became quite a fun thing to do. Last year, I managed to teach 25 people. I gave 14 people paid work, and 9 of those people are now back in full-time employment. And that's just me on my own. I didn't have any government funding, I didn't have any financial help. The only way I actually managed to make it run was I did inspirational talks and training in organisations. And luckily, I met Russell McAfee, who's sat there, and Matt Phelan, who's over there. And they said, listen, Jana, we're going to help you build this into a company so that you can help more people and that you can continue to help the 888 Collective. So we built Archaeo, which I started talking about with Matt in July last year. And we've taken my tracking system and we've built it into an app. And we deliver training and we feed back data into organisations, so it's all anonymised data into organisations, so that you can understand really what's going on in your employees' minds and with their mental fitness. And the amazing thing is right now what we're doing is we track, unlike anyone else, we track low mental fitness symptoms. So we're talking about financial stress, we're talking about paranoia, which is a diagnosed issue, but we give lots of different words that people can use so they can track family stress, different words, I guess, anxiety, all these different words. So you're actually tracking things that you know you've got at that point in time. The app is about to get to version 1 in September, and it's going to be preventative and proactive tool management. So it will speak back to the user, not through a chatbot, but just through learned behaviour. And it basically flags your own patterns. Everything's based on your own data. So what works for you, and the app will tell you what's good and what's not. For me, it's all about empowering the person to take control themselves. As much as I believe organisations should have things in place, as a human on your own, you should have a real good understanding of your mental fitness, where you're at. You should know whether coffee does something to you. You should know how much of an impact going out and drinking has on you. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have a coffee. It doesn't mean you can't go out and have a great weekend. It just means that you have a really good awareness and understanding of what that is for you. So right now, the other thing we're doing, which I haven't said very succinctly because I'm more about telling the story, which is the fun bit, 5% of our subscription fees goes towards our social enterprise, the 888 Collective, which we're rebranding Archaeo Empowerment, because that is much easier to say. And on that, what we're doing is we're delivering our courses. We've got 200 people waiting to go on these courses right now. We deliver free theatre workshops, and we're putting on talent shows, which is really exciting, because I have to say there are so many incredibly talented humans out there, and quite a lot of them have mental health issues, and quite a few people are unemployed, but what they have to show is absolutely extraordinary, and I'd like to make sure that we showcase that. And the third thing that's in line for us right now is we've had over 200 pieces of artwork sent in to us over the past year, and we're asking for more, and we're partnering with some really cool designers to build a fitness clothing label using those pieces of artwork, so that we can create work for people and pay them for their designs. The whole point of building this and sort of like rolling it all together is really we want to build a mental fitness brand, almost like the Nike for your brain. And we want to do that so that we can actually pay money into Archaeo, build a really strong support system to help people get back to work, but on a large scale. And that the companies that subscribe to us with training and tech can potentially at a later date start to offer positions to those people who are coming through our courses, so that we can actually have real social impact on a large scale, and we can really start to tackle the issues that we have at the moment that we're dealing with mental health and mental illness. That's just where I am right now. I'm signing pilots actually to start in September, so if anyone's interested to talk more, let me know. But I'm going to leave you with this. which is a quote that I have found to be very, very true. Rule your mind or it will rule you. If anyone needs to get in touch, there are my details, and thank you.